Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Brittnee, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to make pumpkin cream puffs and eclairs, one of my absolute favorite treats. The pastry cream is flavored pumpkin and is a perfect treat for the season. In my opinion, these are better than the original, plain, boring cream puffs. We'll start by making the pastry cream, and then I'll teach you how to make the pastry dough, which is called pate. Before we get started, if you haven't subscribed and clicked the notification bell yet, today's the day. If you'd like to download a copy of all the recipes we're going to be using today, go ahead and check out the link in the description box below. And we're going to get started by making the pastry cream first. The pastry cream has to set up in the fridge for at least 2 to 3 hours. The easiest way, in my opinion, is to just make it the night before, and then you'll know for sure it's ready and set up for you when you make your cream puff and eclair shells. So, here's what you'll need for the pastry cream. Pour 16 ounces of whole milk into a pot, and then sprinkle in 2 1/4 ounces of sugar. Immediately place this over the stove on medium to start dissolving the sugar while you measure out the rest of your ingredients. Now you'll combine 1.5 ounces of cornstarch, 2 ounces of sugar, a 1/4 teaspoon cinnamon, 1/16 teaspoon nutmeg, cloves, and ginger. Now, you probably don't have 1/16 teaspoon, neither do I, but I do have an 1/8 teaspoon, so I'm just filling it about halfway. The recipe I'm making today is actually cut in half from the original recipe because it's a pretty large recipe, so that's why it's kind of a strange measurement. Once those are all in the bowl, whisk them together and set them aside. In another bowl, add 1 whole egg, 2 egg yolks, 1 teaspoon vanilla, and 2 ounces pumpkin puree. Whisk those together a little bit to loosen up the eggs. Now grab your cornstarch and sugar mixture and pour it into the egg mixture. Now you're going to whisk that mixture for a little while to get some air in it. You want to whisk it long enough just so it turns a little bit lighter in color. You'll also want to grab 1 ounce of butter and set it aside for later. And then last, you'll combine a 1/2 cup of heavy whipping cream, 1 tablespoon sugar, and a 1/2 teaspoon vanilla. You can store this combination in the fridge because we won't need it until after our pastry cream is all set up. All right, so your milk and sugar have been on the stove on medium warming up to dissolve all the sugar. And now you're just going to turn it up to medium, high, and bring it to a little bit of a simmer. You'll know it's ready when the milk starts to kind of get foamy and it'll be bubbling around the edges of the pan and also steaming. You'll also want to have with you your pumpkin mixture and a whisk. You can probably see that our milk is starting to steam. So pretty soon now it'll start to kind of simmer around the edges and then it'll be ready. I like to stir occasionally and scrape the bottom just to make sure nothing's getting burnt to the bottom of the pan. Okay, now it's really steaming and I'm starting to see bubbles here. The top is looking really foamy, so it's ready. I'm going to give it a stir and I'm just going to lift it up. I'm just going to lift it up off the heat so it doesn't continue getting too hot. I'm going to take a cup of the hot mixture and pour it into my eggs and whisk it. This is tempering the eggs so that when we add it to the larger mixture, they don't start turning into scrambled eggs. So I'm going to do that a few times with the hot milk. Okay, now you can put your milk back on the stove and you're going to add your eggs while stirring. So continuously stir. And you're going to just keep stirring until it gets really thick. Kind of go along the whole bottom. If you have a silicone whisk, a whisk works better so that the mixture doesn't get chunky. Because I'm using a spoon, It's gonna get chunky, but it won't matter. We'll fix it later with the whisk. I just don't want to scratch my pan. So you'll just keep stirring. You'll start to see chunks form. Try to scrape all the edges, and the bottom as you're stirring so nothing burns. And you want to make sure before you remove it from the stove that you can see the mixture boiling. So if I stop stirring for a minute, you can see the mixture bubbling and boiling. We want to make sure we cook the starch all the way through so it doesn't have a weird, nasty mouthfeel and texture. All right, so now we're going to take our mixture off the stove and turn off the heat. Now with your cream mixture, you're going to add in your butter and just kind of stir it around until it melts. And once your butter's melted, you're going to move your hot mixture into a different bowl. And then you're going to whisk it nice and good so that it's smooth. Whew, hot. Okay. Then you're going to cool the whole mixture down before you put it in the fridge in a water bath. The water bath is just a bigger bowl full of ice and water, and this just speeds up the process of cooling the mixture down so that we can put it in the fridge. All right, now once your mixture's all cool, you can tell because it's very thick, you're going to transfer it into a container to put in the fridge to finish setting up. Just gonna dry off the bottom of my bowl so it doesn't drip water. And remember, you'll want to put this in the fridge for at least 2 to 3 hours, or overnight is easy. All right, once your pastry cream is in the fridge and has had a chance to cool for a little while, you can start gathering the ingredients for your pate à choux. Here are the ingredients you'll need. 8 ounces of water and 4 ounces of shortening, and you're just going to combine them in a pot and then immediately put them on the stove on medium to high heat in order to get your shortening to start melting. While your water and shortening are heating up, go ahead and combine 6 ounces of flour with a ½ teaspoon salt. Then go ahead and grab about 7 eggs. We'll for sure use 5, but we might need a few extra depending on the texture. And you can also grab some orange food coloring if you'd like your cream puffs to resemble little pumpkins. Some other supplies you'll need to make your shells are a mixer with a paddle attachment, a sheet tray and a silicone baking mat, and a piping bag with a large round tip. All right, now over at the stove, your water and shortening has started to melt. You're just going to turn the heat up to high and bring it to a simmer. All right, once your water and shortening are simmering, you're just going to dump in your flour and salt mixture, and you'll stir really fast until your mixture forms a dough and starts pulling away from the sides of the pan. Just like this. Once it's pulling off of the sides of the pan, you're done. You can take it off the heat. Now you're just going to take your dough, put it into your mixing bowl, and with the paddle attachment, go ahead and just start mixing this on the lowest speed, just until the side of the bowl is cool to the touch. Then we'll start adding the eggs. While you're waiting for your mixture to cool down, you can go ahead and set your oven to 425 degrees and grab out a few baking sheets along with silicone baking mats and your piping bag and tip. Now once your bowl is warm to the touch, you can start adding your eggs, one at a time. Between each egg, you're going to mix until it's fully combined. Now this is what it looks like after 5 eggs, but we have 2 extra eggs because we need to now watch the consistency to get it just right. So we're going to add the 6th egg. Before we go ahead and add another egg, I'm just going to wipe down the bowl and mix it a little longer to see what the real texture's like because it's a little clumpy. Okay, so as you can see, the mixture has started smoothing out a little bit. So now we need to test the consistency. And to get it to this point, I turned the speed up to about medium just to get all those eggs blended. Now I'm going to take a spatula and pull up out of the mixture like this. Now what you're looking for is for the mixture to come down into one point. But because it's making this texture and breaking kind of flat, that means it's too thick. So we're going to add the last egg and see if it's right. Okay, now once it's all smooth, we're going to check it again. I'm just going to wipe the bowl down real quick. So I'm dipping the spatula and pulling up, and it's starting to create a point. The other test is that you can take some, and if you can stretch it between 2 fingers like this, then it's ready. You should be able to stretch it without it breaking, and it's looking really good. So I think that's it. So now that we've got the consistency right, I'm going to take a little bit of food color and make some orange. I've never dyed pate choux before, so this is going to be an experiment, but I want my cream puffs to look like little pumpkins, so I want them to be orange. I was going to use my gel food color, but it was a little dry. So we're gonna try this. That's pretty light orange. I think it's safe to do 1 more drop of each. And I'm going to wipe down the bowl one last time, and then we'll be ready to pipe the puffs. And now I'm going to try to show you again what I mean about the texture being when you dip the spatula in and pull it up, it should come to a point and make a triangle. That, along with the finger pinch test, will get your texture right for this dough. Now, I'm just going to quickly transfer the paste into my piping bag. I have a large round tip this size. I'll link it in the description below, so you know exactly what one it is. So I'm just gonna put about half my dough in the bag. I'm going to do 1 tray of puffs and 1 tray of eclairs. Okay, we're ready to pipe. Okay, so for the puffs, you literally are just going to do a little circle like this. Try to make them as even as possible if you want them to be the same size. So I'm just squeezing and then stopping pressure, and then doing a little twist to cut the dough from the bag. Comment down below what you guys prefer. Do you like cream puffs better or eclairs? My vote is for eclairs because traditionally they're finished with ganache on the top, and cream puffs are usually finished with a little sprinkle of powdered sugar. And I really liked the taste of the chocolate ganache with the pastry cream. So they're my favorite, but comment your favorite down below. I'm gonna make the last row a little smaller to maybe do some mini puffs We can see the difference in size. Plus I'm running out of dough for this batch. Okay, now you're going to put these in the oven at 425. And here are our puffs out of the oven. I baked them for about 25 to 30 minutes. It'll depend on your oven. You just want to make sure they're nice and golden brown so that they don't lose their shape once you remove them from the oven. Now we'll set these aside and we'll make some eclairs. All right, so we've got the rest of my dough here. And for the eclairs, I'm just going to pipe a little strip like this and then go like that to cut the dough off from the tip. And I'm trying not to squish the dough down. So if you can tell, I'm keeping the tip raised off of the baking sheet a little bit so that it falls down in its shape without smashing it. So you don't want to hold it above. Well, I'll show you what you don't want to do because this is going to drip. You don't want to hold it down against the mat like that and have it be flat. So you want it to come out like a nice circle so that it raises really well. And since I'm running out of room, I'm just going to do the last little edge as some puffs. And same thing, you're just going to bake them in the oven at 425 until they're nice and golden. And that'll be about 25 to 30 minutes probably again. All right, here are our eclairs all out of the oven. They got really big, but they're gonna taste delicious. More surface area for chocolate, I guess. Now it's time to finish up our pastry cream. The first step to do that is to grab our heavy cream mixture and pour it in our mixer with the whisk attachment. And we're just going to whip this heavy cream mixture to some nice stiff peak whipped cream, and we're going to fold that into the pastry cream. So just go ahead and whip this on high till stiff peaks. All right, my cream's all finished. I've got a nice stiff peak here. And I've taken my pastry cream out of the fridge. It's all set up, so I'm going to transfer it to a bowl. Now, see how rubbery it is? It's kind of a little bit too rubbery, which is why we're going to fold in our whipped cream. It makes it a little more light and fluffy and delicious. So before we do that, we're going to give the pastry cream a really good whisk, and so it's not so rubbery. Doesn't it kind of look like cold gravy? It's creepy. All right, so I've just stirred it until it's nice and smooth like this. And now we're going to fold our whipped cream into it. All right, once it's all incorporated like this, it's ready to fill our little puffs and eclairs. So I'm just going to transfer it into our piping bag. This time I have a small piping bag with a smaller round tip like this. You don't want it to be too small or the pastry cream will be really hard to pipe out. So anyway, I'll link this size down below. All right, so to fill our cream puffs, I'm going to show you two different ways. The first is through the bottom. And how you do that, it's easy if you just make a little cut first with a knife like this, and then you'll take your tip, small circle, and just push it in. And I kind of rotate it as I fill it to make sure I get it in all the corners of the puff. And then just fill it until it's kind of coming out the bottom. So I can do that with a few. All right, so one way to finish them, if you don't want to get too fancy, I've got a bit of powdered sugar and cinnamon in this little mini sifter, and I'm just going to sprinkle some over the top. And that's one way to finish it if you like that taste. Another way I'm going to show you how to fill and finish them is to look a little bit more like little pumpkins. So I'm going to take a serrated knife and saw off the top of the puff. See how it's nice and empty in the middle? That is a good cream puff because that's where your filling goes. So then, I'm just going to put plenty of cream in like this, and I'm gonna go a little bit higher than the top, and I'm going to set the lid on top like that. So then to finish these like pumpkins, I'm going to take some green white chocolate in a parchment piping bag and do some vines coming off like this. And you can add some little leaves like this. Just start with a dot and then pull to a tip. And now to finish the pumpkins completely, you're just going to take a little bit of chilled ganache and a star tip and pipe it right on top. Now I'll just fill the eclairs the same way I did the first cream puffs. Little X's on the bottom. And then fill it one way and then the other. And then in the other hole, you'll know that it's getting full. Here's the flat one that I showed you. Looks like a little peanut. And you can feel like it in your hand. I can feel this kind of pushing against me. So then I know that it's getting full. And then I'm just going to take some ganache. This recipe is included in the PDF download. It's really easy to make, but I'm just going to take the eclair and dip the top, and then I give it a little shake, and then like that, so the chocolate doesn't run down the side. And then once the chocolate ganache is set up, I like to finish my eclairs by piping on some pastry patterns with some melted dark chocolate. Once the chocolate sets up, it never hurts to finish the whole thing off with a little bit of gold dust, of course. Don't forget to click the link below to download all of these recipes, and I hope that you try out these cute little pumpkin puffs. They are so delicious. I think you'll agree. If you like this video, please like the video, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. To check out something else that's sweet, click on one of these thumbnails. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in a week. Bye.